This is a clouds weather alert. Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center coming on the air for a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of St. John's and Duval counties here until 3 p.m. I know we're watching some wind enhancement, a lot of lightning there. I know we've had quite a few storms here this afternoon, but this is the first one that's reached severe limits toward our 38 counties. We even had some hail reported in Tallahassee recently, but wasn't quite a severe limit. Haven't had a warning on that, but we'll get to that storm here momentarily. But our focus right now is we have the yellow box on the screen until 3 o'clock. For parts of St. John's and parts of Duval, mainly really St. John's. I mean, you see it's just a small sliver of Duval there, but northern parts of St. John's County. Let me go ahead and read the statement here from the Weather Service in Jacksonville. As we're looking at the latest, it looks like northeastern St. John's, southeastern Duval until 3 o'clock at 2:33. A severe thunderstorm was located over Guana River State Park, or 9 miles south of Ponte Vedra Beach, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. So seeing some of this nasty weather here right at the coast. Let me go ahead and see some of the velocity mode, maybe some of that burst of wind energy here getting down toward the surface as we're looking toward Nocatee Parkway. Just that overall vicinity there. Honestly, this is just how it is in summertime. You know, a lot of this, by the time the warning gets issued, we're already starting to see it really approach the coastline here. But you can see right around Ponte Vedra Boulevard there, around the Michler Landing area. You can see right there at the coast. So definitely don't need to be out at the coast here. It's still impacting the coast with severe conditions potentially. This activity is South Ponte Vedra Beach. So just got to be remembering whenever thunder roars, go indoors. But hopefully you're already doing that. You can download that Cloud Weather app. I know you can get those lightning alerts on that here as we're looking across our 38 counties. You know, hopefully you have that here if you're in our 38 counties as we're trying to keep you guys up to date. There's other accident right here. I know in Bradford we've been seeing some gusty winds on the radar and then out toward Leon. Let me go ahead and talk about this here. There's no official warning. I was about to post about that report of some hail there toward Leon when we had our warning issued back out toward the east. So this is till 3 o'clock. A significant weather advisory there. And the hail report there, I know it may not show up on this system, but I saw it on my other system here. So let me go ahead and walk over to my other computer. I'm going to go ahead and look here at that, and we'll go ahead and see that the report there was 3/4 of an inch in diameter there. Dime-sized hail around Tallahassee Mall at 2:21 this afternoon. So dime-sized hail there, toward the Tallahassee Mall at about 2:21. But no official warning on this, but seeing some gusty wind potential, a little bit of hail potential there, some lightning. You kind of get the idea. Just got to be mindful here as we're looking at things. This is officially below severe limit. I do see the hail report now as I look. I know sometimes as we kind of look here, you know, I got to get used to this new system here and some of the different things in terms of the storm reports, but here it is. You can see dime size there around the Tallahassee Mall area. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here with the information on that. I think it just actually popped up right there when I went to the other computer to look at it. So that's just how it is sometimes here in this type of situation as we're trying to keep you guys informed here on things meteorologically. But that's your hail report over there. But we got to get back to our severe warning toward the east. That's why we're on the air, this severe thunderstorm warning here as we're looking at accident on Ponte Vedra Boulevard there. I mean, Sawgrass has some lightning in that vicinity. You know, that's, the area toward this zone is where they play the Players Golf Tournament every March. If you guys aren't familiar with this area, if you're not local right here, but, they're seeing some lightning in that vicinity. I know as we look toward the south, there's a lot more lightning, though, heavy downpours here as we look toward some of these different zones here. As we go ahead and look here at the overall mapping, South Ponte Vedra Beach there, Guana River Road. I mean, maybe some gusty winds in here right at the coast with a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of St. John's, a little bit of Duval, but mostly St. John's or northeastern St. John's until 3 o'clock. So again, just continuing to try to keep you guys up to date here on the very latest. I know you can kind of just see there's a lot of lightning in western Clay. I'm hearing some of those rumbles of thunder here in eastern Bradford. Even there is still some lightning in eastern Bradford. I know I was out there yesterday afternoon and evening at the Stark Splash Bass, and we got really lucky. No lightning within, 10 miles at all. Not one strike within 10 miles. Never had to set anything down. Today would have been a different story. I mean, over the last hour here, you can see all this electrical energy around, especially in northern Bradford, but even east and, just southeast of Bradford Elementary School had some pretty gusty winds sent up on the radar at points as well. And let's check some of the velocities over here. We'll go ahead and I'll go into the velocity mode. It's not really showing now, but I'll bat this up at 30 minutes. You can see some stronger wind there, and if I go back an hour, we'll be able to see some of the stronger wind further up. It wasn't enough to get a warning. That's what we weren't on. Granted, I do see some wind here in southwestern Duval. It's not enough to get a warning yet, I don't think, but getting up there now as we're looking right there around First Street, Normandy Boulevard, as we get here toward the Baldwin area, Fifth Tone area, as we kind of get on in here, you can see 29-mile-an-hour winds. So just kind of something to be mindful of here as we're looking at the overall meteorology. So again, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning. This time of year, these are, going to happen pretty quick. And I know you have the app you can have downloaded on your phone, Cloud Weather app, and it'll give you those alerts as soon as they come out. Yes, at facebook.com/cloudsweather. It'll get, the severe alerts out there immediately when they're issued. This time of year, that's more instrumental. A lot of times, if it's a situation where we're tracking a squall line, we would already, maybe be on, or even if there's multiple warnings on a summertime day. But again, as we're looking here on this Sunday, it's a situation, it's a scenario here where we're just having to kind of, here with this summertime activity, just jump in when it gets going, when it's a random morning like this. Because it wouldn't necessarily make sense to stay on all day. I know I streamed the radar yesterday. Yesterday I streamed it a little bit longer than I normally would because I was controlling it remotely there, as I was watching the overall meteorology. And if we'd had a tornado warning, I would have jumped in on a Facebook Live or something, but wasn't enough to jump in for that one severe thunderstorm warning. It's kind of like this one, honestly, here. I mean, this one here is a pretty quick warning. And you can kind of see the window. I mean, it came together enough in here for some potential. Again, this stuff is really hard to see. I know we have the heat advisory too. I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off. It's the orange layer underneath. I mean, you got to be aware of that heat. I'll say the temperature, some spots have cooled down because of all the rain, but the heat's, helped create some of this rain here, with instability, but 99 still in Brunswick. But you see 77 around Stark, 78 Tallahassee. But yeah, just continuing to track things here with the very latest. In fact, did they go ahead and cancel that warning? I think they did, so I won't even bother turning the heat advisory off then. I think they just canceled that warning early because that moved on out. So again, this time of year, this is how things will be. This very quick mover. Severe thunderstorm warning for northeastern St. John's and southeastern Duval is canceled. The storm was prompted to warning has weakened below severe limits and has exited the warned area. Therefore, the warning has been canceled. So I know yesterday, the situation, we had that one warning over Crescent City. Crescent City there is about a 14-minute warning, I think it was. We just had the radar running, through the day, and we had some, viewer even reporting on Salt Springs. It was pretty nasty before we had no warning, with some of the storminess. And today, similar pattern in a way, just the idea of it, though it's a little bit displaced from what we had yesterday in terms of geography, because we didn't have anything here in Bradford yesterday. Today is a different story as we're monitoring things here meteorologically. So again, just trying to keep you guys informed here with the overall latest, just trying to keep you guys informed here with the latest information because, just have this activity going on. I know, again, yesterday Bradford got really lucky on that 4th of July. Today, well, not as many events, obviously, and we're getting some of that rain. This is the last 12 hours here in terms of those rainfall totals from the Jacksonville site. Some spots getting over an inch. North of Lardy, they're over a half an inch. On our rain gauge here east of Stark, only 7/100ths of an inch here so far. So we're kind of missing out on it here. I mean, I'll zoom in on our map a little bit. And, this is going to maybe this is slightly more than that. But you kind of get the idea, kind of missing on out here as we're keeping you guys informed on this here, in our area. Some spots aren't getting all that precip, all the storminess here. It's, random. That's how summertime activity is. As we get toward Nassau County, west of Callahan, a little bit of wind there as we move on in. You see some lightning there in southern Marion County as we look there south of Bellevue. I know you can get the interactive radar all the time on cloudweather.com/radar. You have, excuse me, you have the scenario there where you can go to the Cloud Weather app and get the interactive radar over there. Again, lightning alerts, Cloud Weather app. Of course, you can get that in the Google Play Store. Make sure you put apostrophe S in for Cloud Weather. I know somebody reported in they had to do that to be able to get it to pop up. Still kind of early stages, so not a lot of app downloads yet. So it's going to be a little harder sometimes to find there. In some of the Play Stores, Apple App Store, it's listed as Cloud or KC Cloud Weather there. You can get the links to those listings on cloudweather.com. I know with the S there, cloudweather.com, no apostrophe in the web address. So just kind of giving you guys the very latest on all that. And I posted about it on Facebook there on Friday on KC Cloud WX. You can look in the comments. I posted the links, and on Twitter/X posted the links there as well if for the app listings. So again, just trying to keep you guys informed. Seeing some areas of wind energy, nothing too overwhelming. We had no warning. That's why we jumped in. It was a quick warning. I mean, I'll go back 30 minutes. It wasn't even here 30 minutes ago here as I say this. And then we had the yellow box, and now we have the marine warning, and now the severe warning over land's gone. So that's kind of how it works here this time of year as we're looking at the overall meteorology. Let me go ahead and see here. Fernandina Beach to St. Augustine, out 20 nautical miles. It's a scenario here where, just have some of those hazardous marine conditions for some folks out that way. So just got to be aware as we're looking in toward those coastal waters. But let me see if there's any questions, comments here. I appreciate everybody tuning in, trusting me. I know Rebecca there talking about didn't see any hail in southwest Tallahassee. This bad lightning and heavy rain. AJ watching here on this Sunday. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday here. And, the storms around northeast Tallahassee, of course. And, southwest Tallahassee, the storming action there. But, nothing too crazy with the overall meteorology. We did have some of that hail reported, though, near the mall in the ward Tallahassee, as I was showing you guys. But, again, not a severe limit. We'll check on this storm again here. No warning over here. Not, this is under severe criteria, 0.75. Now, years ago, I mean, about 20 years in terms of the overall storyline. About 20 years ago, you used to get the severe warnings. That was the criteria, only 3/4 of an inch hail to get a severe thunderstorm warning. And the Weather Service, figured they were just getting a little bit too many warnings, too many kind of, cry and wolf scenarios, I guess, when you have 3/4 of an inch hail triggering a warning. So they gone ahead and raised that threshold to an inch there a while back. I mean, this has got to be 20 years ago, give or take. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, it was Memorial Day weekend, Indianapolis 500, I think it was on, and we were just getting severe thunderstorms all over the place with warnings, and a lot of them had that 3/4 of an inch criteria, as best I can remember. I mean, I was a kid, but the best I can remember there, it was, we were getting all those just because we were getting a 3/4 of an inch in diameter with some of the hail potential there. That was one of the triggers. I mean, I'm sure the wind was a factor too, but it just seems like, that was one of the stories. It was a long time ago, so I may have that a little bit off. Like I said, I was, before college, probably even before high school. But again, just remembering, in the past there, as we're trying to keep you guys up to date here on the overall meteorology, they raised it to an inch. So, because the 3/4, if they'd had that report, they'd issued a warning right away 20 years ago. Might have had one anyway, just because of the hail potential. I mean, see a little bit of this on the hail tracking. It's not too far away. I mean, I got to tilt this because that hail report's going to sit up in a weird spot otherwise. But you can kind of get the idea here as we're looking. There's a lot of electrical energy. Just remember, whenever thunder roars, go indoors. I mean, that's something I haven't really touched on, in terms of some of the reports we've had of lightning problems here. On Friday, we had a tragedy there toward southwest Florida. A person died being struck by lightning. And yesterday, a person was injured by lightning toward Volusia County, both out of our area. But the point is, we just got to remember here, just whenever thunder roars, go indoors. It's just so awful. You got to send your thoughts and prayers out to everybody impacted by these lightning, situations, especially on a holiday weekend. Things go from festive to tragic very quickly. I just had a rip current fatality just south of our area in Volusia County back on Friday. So, got to remember to be very careful when you're in the water, not just for the lightning, at the beach, but because of those rip currents there too. So, Just got to be really careful because those can be hidden hazards sometimes. We just don't think about them a lot because we're current, those can be around a lot. And the lightning's around a lot this time of year, obviously. So, speaking of being around this time of year, I'm going to try something different. Give me just a moment. I got to change some settings around. I put a graphic out here early this morning about yesterday's lightning, and I think it'd be helpful just to see how much lightning we've had. Really, lightning doesn't accumulate in theory, but just on our system, I just want to see how much lightning we've had in our area since midnight, something like that. So I'm gonna change a couple settings around. So we're looking at our covered area right now. Just appreciate everybody tuning in, trusting me here on this Sunday here. I know the holiday period here, kind of got to remember what day it is. No formal update tonight. Hopefully, we don't get any more warnings, but if we do, we'll go back on it. And Southern Flagler seeing some strong storm activity right now there too. As we're looking there around areas south of Bunnell, around the Cody's Corner area, and just east of there especially. And we have a new advisory toward parts of Jefferson as we're looking at this map. But it's going to take me just a second here. I'm going to change some settings around. So I'm going to go 15 hours for the lightning. 15 hours. And then I need to just go ahead and we'll put our severe outlook on, because that way you'll be able to see it without the radar. So we'll see the lightning for the last 15 hours. So now I'll go back over. This is not something we've shown live. I said it this morning on Facebook and on Twitter/X, but this is your lightning, recorded lightning last 15 hours here. You see over 8,000 strikes in this frame. If I tilt it, we can kind of get a count for our area. I got to zoom in a little bit more, as we're kind of looking here. And I mean, that's a lot of lightning. Some of this gets us a little outside of our area, but still 3,000, 4,000 strikes since midnight here. That's a lot of electrical energy. I mean, this shows all the lightning we've had here. I need to tilt it back a little, but tilt it over. But this is all the lightning here in Bradford. Again, now I have that up here. I'm not, trying to say we needed a severe risk or anything, because we've only had one warning. I just have this on here because this is the graphic where we can take the radar off and, be able to show things better. There's a general thunderstorm risk, and we're seeing that here verify, obviously, on this Sunday. So I just wanted to be able to show this to you without interference from the radar, where we can actually see these are all the strikes we've had since midnight. All these little, indicators here on the screen, the accumulated lightning, and you see all this right here at the coast, how much they've had, towards some of the different spots. This is the heat advisory. I didn't take that off, but just didn't want to have the radar clogging everything up, because that'd be a little weird having 15 hours of lightning on there and just the current radar. But again, these are where all the strikes have been. Just a lot of electrical energy here for sure, and out toward Tallahassee. You can kind of see here, just all the strikes we've had, all the electricity we've had, accumulated. Again, it's not like rain, it doesn't, accumulate per se. A lot of these are cloud to cloud anyway, so they're not going to cause damage, but some of them could be, and I'm sure are cloud to ground, and that could hit a tree or something worse, obviously. That's why you got to really be cognizant here with the overall meteorological storyline. So, again, just trying to keep you updated. Again, these are all the lightning strikes since midnight here, pretty much, as we're looking at the overall timeline. So I just wanted to give you guys a look at that there, as we keep you guys updated here for the 38 counties, trying to keep you guys informed here on adverse weather. Just trying to keep you guys up to date here on adverse weather conditions. Obviously, I'm going to change our lightning settings back to our normal 15 minutes instead of 15 hours. So we can kind of give you the overall look here at things in the weather center. So we got a new advisory for parts of Nassau now. And I may just leave the radar streaming after this stream, because, after this cut in, because, we got enough of these advisories here in case we need to cut back in. I might just go ahead and leave it streaming, because this is a strong storm now moving toward Fernandina Beach as we're looking toward parts of Nassau County. You can kind of see here on O'Neill, we're seeing some gusty winds to about 40 miles an hour, moving toward Fernandina Beach. And then, we're going to watch here parts of Flagler County. A little bit of wind enhancement, I know. Seeing some of these, winds come together there as we get down toward Hudson 5 there. We have a pretty rural area, but the Relay Street wildlife management. You see Southern Marion, some lightning there. And we have some storm accident in parts of northern Glynn County, moving out, areas just outside of our zone, into our zone there. Again, we have the storm accident on Tallahassee we've been following. Let's pull up some of those rainfall totals over there, by the way, for our folks around Tallahassee. 6-hour accumulated rainfall, 0.8 of an inch there, 1.4 eastern Leon. As we look at the maps, other spot here even a little bit more, so quite a bit of precip in spots, but other spots, nothing, zills. As we're looking there, as we're tracking things. So again, just trying to keep you guys up to date there. Just no precip in spots, and I'll switch it over because this isn't gonna show us to the east. Let me say Jacksonville, our precip, but it cuts off because of the radar. But I mean, some spots really didn't have any rain, none, nada there, and towards some of these different zones here. So look toward Gainesville, other spots, not too much, but then more spots. You get a 10th. Around, let's see, I think this is the RV resort, but I'll double check. It's close, right there, the RV resort, a little bit less there, ½ inch or so of rain there as we get on in towards some of the different spots. But, again, where we're at, I'm not going to, get here, really close in on everything, but you can see 2 100s to the west, but then to the east, only about a 10th, but other spots here, over ½ inch. Around Kingsley, I know we always worry, all the folks out there celebrating the 4th. You guys had some storm activity over the last hour or so, that wind enhancement storm. We had some light in that vicinity. So just always got to be careful there for sure as we look in toward that zone. Let's go ahead and look at power outages here real quick. Let's go ahead and look at power outages. You can see it's just a handful really as we look at the overall story. Granted, it may take a little bit longer for some of this to load in, but Eccles, Lafayette, Marion, Leon, Leon's the most there. And again, we didn't have any warning out there. We haven't had any outages showing up on here so far from when we did have the warning. This time of year is so renegade, so hit and miss, with this action there, hit and miss. This, I know Leon County does have 1,114 customers out according to Power.us, but let me go to City of Tallahassee directly. 1,393 is what they have right now. So even though we didn't have a warning there, still getting some pretty strong weather in toward Tallahassee and toward Leon there on this day after July 4th, 2026. So I know the late George Winterland, I remember him talking about on the air is when he was the emeritus meteorologist, hurricane expert there at WTXT after he retired. He was talking about renegade storms there. We had one, it was like a Saturday night, and it was taking all the energy, but here, we have just so much energy. We can have a lot of storms that are, kind of sort of renegade in a way, but in some ways, we do have some organization here as we're looking at the overall weather picture. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things. Again, looking toward parts of Flagler County. Another reason he said renegade is because he went to FSU, and Osceola and Renegade, were the story there. So this is, something interesting there in terms of this, meteorology there, in terms of talking about the late George Winterland. So as we go ahead and look here, these winds don't look too strong here. 34 toward parts of Nassau. See a little bit of wind here moving toward, Monticello area there. Let me see if there are any more questions, comments here from any of the viewers at home. I see Nicole Watson. Appreciate you tuning in, trusting me here as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in, trusting me here on this Sunday. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for now. I think we'll leave the radar running, though, so you guys will be able to see that. But again, just be very careful with these storms here as we're watching things meteorologically. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I mean, we got 15 of you watching right now as we're looking at things, 14 on YouTube there and 1 on Twitch. So appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Sunday, watching things meteorologically here, trying to keep you informed. And I'll be back here with more coverage as the conditions warrant. So just really do appreciate everybody here. Just appreciate you guys and your viewership here. Hope you guys had a happy 4th of July out there. And as we're looking at things, just appreciate everybody subscribing to my YouTube channel there. Really do appreciate all the support here on this Sunday, just on all the different platforms here. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up for now. Leave the radar going. And if I need to pop back in, I will. Let me go ahead and throw up the Valdosta radar so that we can kind of get the whole area a little bit better here. We'll watch some things. If we get another warning, I'll pop back into this stream. But enjoy your Sunday out there. Stay safe as I continue to monitor things here behind the scenes in the Weather Center. I'll go ahead and loop the radar over the last hour. We're going to do that. Going to see you that there. And if I need to pop back in, I will. Enjoy your Sunday out there. Stay safe. Stay informed here. The cloud weather, I'll be keeping you guys up to date on things here with the overall weather situation. A viewer asking, is there any chance of tornadoes? You can't ever say 0% chance, but a summertime pattern, you generally don't get it. I mean, if you get a boundary to connect with another boundary, you can get a little spin real quick, but it'd be a really low-end type tornado threat, and low-end type of tornado strength as well. And then have Top Cat watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Sunday. Really appreciate the viewership, and I'll leave the stream on up. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe. This is a clouds weather alert. Good Sunday afternoon, meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air with another severe thunderstorm warning. This one includes parts of Duval and parts of Nassau there until about 4 p.m. So, talking about at 3:33, a severe thunderstorm was located near Ocean Way, or 8 miles east of Jacksonville International Airport, moving northeast at 15 miles an hour. So, severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Duval and Nassau till 4 p.m. So, again, we're seeing Ocean Way, Amelia City, Talbot Island involved in this warning. Need to go ahead and take precautions here as we're keeping you guys informed. So again, we're watching parts of Duval and parts of Nassau. Let me go ahead and throw a covered map up here real quick as we give you guys the very latest information here. Just trying to keep you guys informed on things the best I can here in the Weather Center. Just trying to let you guys know everything that's going on here meteorologically. You know, just so important here to stay on top of things as the situation does go along. So, again, severe thunderstorm warning to 4. And we're talking about movement here northeast at 15 miles an hour with this. Northeast here at 15 miles an hour. So let me go ahead and I'll come back over here onto the other source. We're going to go ahead and we'll zoom on in here, and you can kind of see, looking at the velocity mode, we're looking here about 47-mile-an-hour winds. That's pretty intense there as we're looking toward areas around Nassauville over the next few minutes. So again, we got to be mindful of this. 47-mile-an-hour winds there, moving toward the Nassauville area here pretty soon. So, northeast at 15 miles an hour. I'm going to loop this back here. And we're going to go ahead. Let me just loop it back a little bit further. I'll turn the sweep off. And then we'll go ahead and put a track on here. This is some of the strongest of the accent that I'm tracking. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch it on over to our lowest rank size here. We're talking about Nassauville, O'Neill, Amelia City, American Beach, Franklintown. Those are the areas that could get impacted. Whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors here with this severe thunderstorm warning. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Duval and parts of Nassau here until 4. Let's see. Let me double check that. I think it's till 4 o'clock. They give you guys the very latest here. Yeah, 4 o'clock is when that expires. So 19 more minutes as we keep you guys informed here on the overall meteorology. Again, 19 more minutes with that severe thunderstorm warning. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on the story. Let me go ahead. You can see there's where our warning is. Looking here, 46 miles an hour. This is going to be getting there near Linda Road, Jamie Road, Avant Road. Just got to be inside and away from windows here. Zooming on out. By the way, you see the heat advisory went away over here. All this storm action working things over. But, heat advisory went away for Florida, but not for Georgia there yet. But we got some lightning. Oh, we got a little bit of rotation. Let's see. What's this all about here? What is this all about? Right there near Flagler Beach, just a little bit of wind enhancement, maybe some type of burst of wind energy. Something interesting. That's what this cylinder is. I don't know if we've had this too much when we've actually been on the air, but this is a cylinder the Variant software uses to detect some different wind enhancement. It has a couple different kinds of cylinders here. And, sometimes we have some of that enhancement in the wind here that we have to be vigilant about here, aware of with the overall meteorological storyline. So, just got to be careful there on Flagler Beach. Hopefully nothing getting too crazy down there, but no warning down there officially. But still just got to be careful as we go ahead and look here. As we get here north of Nassauville, 38-mile-an-hour winds. Again, the reason we came on earlier was for Duval and St. John's. This is now Nassau and Duval with this update here as we keep you guys informed on the very latest. Let me go ahead and see if there's any questions, comments here from any of the viewers at home. I know our other hail product behind the scenes is doing inside hail potential there in southern Nassau now, so that's something to be mindful of. But that's also and this is a project that generally, it does a really good job not overdoing it. It's also doing that toward Glynn County there in Georgia as well. So just got to be careful here. Just got to be mindful. Just appreciate everybody tuning in and trusting me here on this Sunday. Again, let me go ahead, see what we have going on here. Just trying to keep you up to date. Trying to keep you informed. Just watching everything. A lot of lightning there toward Flagler County for sure, and that gets into Volusia there, especially though. When you look with the overall, zoom, where a lot of those are concentrated. Let's go ahead and get on in here. Wind now right there around, as I get in tight here, you see Calumet Drive. Some of the stronger wind. That's 54. Wow. This is right near the radar. This may be producing damage. Not all these severe warnings actually produce damage. I have a feeling this one might actually be producing some damage here as we look right now into toward parts of our area. So we got to take precaution because that's where the radar is. I mean, we're not looking high up at all to get these type of velocity signatures. Kind of concerning. I mean, we're on less than 500 feet up, and we're seeing winds here. 54, that's almost severe, and in this type of environment, you don't necessarily need severe numbers on the screen to actually get severe thunderstorm type damage around the Amelia Concourse area. So Old Nassauville Road. So just got to be really cognizant here. That's moving right toward the Amelia Concourse. Yes, have Old Nassauville Road. You have O'Neill in here. I know we were talking about O'Neill earlier, and we were on with our other cut-in. But you can kind of see this wind seems to be picking up in intensity here. So this is kind of concerning right here in toward Nassau County. You don't always get them this clear cut with some of our wind modes here, 54. And I'll put it in another way. I mean, you can see it pretty good on this mode, but even see it better when in our enhanced color table. I mean, it shows the wind numbers a little different, but you kind of get the idea. Just seeing this wind really pick on up here with some of these brighter reds right there in toward Nassau County on Haddock Road. Again, just got to be vigilant here. These are, moving these winds northeast at 15 miles an hour as we keep you guys up to date. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and keep looking here. O'Neill, about 354. That's when it's going to be headed toward your area. Some of these strongest winds in toward Nassau County here. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Nassau and parts of Duval. I know O'Neill's right on the edge of this. They might, this might go a little bit more easterly than how I have it tracked, but you'll still potentially get into this about that time there as we're watching things around O'Neill. And you know what? You can really see that burst of wind energy right on the radar here. This hyper-local type of, mode here that I can do. See how the greens and reds really came together in this color table. This different color table I have. I mean, you can really see it there. Right around Pecan Park there. You can see right there around Bird Road at 333. So, I mean, let me back this up a little bit. I mean, that, I started to get it. Let me go back 30 minutes here. So you see the advisory, you see lightning, you see at 329. I mean, it could have, in theory, had some damage here around North Main Street in Duval County at 329. But in this environment, you see that on radar. Radar's not a continuous scan. It's just the way things go. They don't issue the warning, instantaneously. It takes just a second here. And then you see it as I keep going. You'll see the yellow box pop up here with that getting even a little bit stronger. And then you can see our yellow box here, and that's what we have. And then you can see that kind of relent in terms of the greens and reds with the burst of wind energy, but still some really strong winds moving up toward the O'Neill area there in northern Nassau County. So these are some strong winds here as we're keeping you guys informed. Just got to be really cognizant here as you're looking toward O'Neill. Did they get rid of the warning? I'm a little surprised. I know they may be warning for that downburst, but that looks like still a pretty strong signature here in the algorithms to me. Let me see what they said here. Again, let me remind you guys first of our counties, our commitment to you guys. Again, we're watching, we're tracking everything here for you. Okay, they've canceled East Central Nassau and Northeastern Duval. It's interesting because I kind of disagree with that in a way. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, to be completely honest. I mean, I see why they issued a warning to begin with. We showed you that with the greens and reds there. I mean, technically 50 is not severe, but this is close enough to the radar. And this latest scan, I mean, it's close enough to the radar. I mean, technically it's not severe, so maybe with it just being one direction, they think it's okay. But you should at least see an advisory box pop up here momentarily to warn for that type of potential as we're looking towards State Road 200. That's a pretty, heavily traveled road here, especially on a holiday weekend like this. So just gotta be really careful there and toward that area. There's an advisory, so that's what they gone ahead and did at the Weather Service. An advisory, as we keep you guys up to date here. Just trying to keep you informed here on things meteorologically. I'm going to read that advisory off. It's just coming on in. I don't even see it in my system here yet, but they're going to head and issue an advisory for that instead of a warning, since they don't think maybe the burst of wind is there now. They think this could be still strong winds, but not considered a burst to actually cause major damage, but maybe minor damage. Wind gusts to 50 is what they're saying, with the advisory, pea-sized hail possible there. So this is an advisory now, not a warning, as we're looking at the overall scenario. 50 miles an hour, 47. Now, this is a heavily traveled road here, State Road 200, as you're going from Yulee to O'Neill. Some pretty strong winds going to be crossing on over that right about now. I mean, as we monitor the situation. Again, just trying to keep you guys informed here. This is the normal color table. I know I was using the enhanced color table some, but this is your normal color table. I'm going to go ahead and back this out, though. I see some other lighting like towards southern Suwannee County, eastern Flagler. We've talked about that. In the southeast Georgia, we have some storms there. Parts of Camden and Glynn. Let's look at this up here. A little bit of wind enhancement south of Derry and McIntosh is out of our area, but Glynn is in our area. Got the heat advisory up there as well. So you see some stuff east of Tallahassee, non-severe, but still in the strong time. We had some hail earlier toward Tallahassee, dime size in nature. So definitely something to keep tabs on there meteorologically. Let's get back to the Radasta radar so we can see everything a little more equally in terms of, if we're too far from one beam to another to a spot, if I go to the other, it's going to not let the storms be as easily seen. If I'm like on Jackson, we can't see stuff further west as good, or if I'm on Tallahassee, the stuff further east isn't as good. This is kind of middle ground. It's not perfect like for some of this out here, but at least gives you an idea of what's going on here for our 38 counties. So let me go ahead and loop this to last hour. We're going to wrap it since they've gone ahead and dropped the warning. I'm going to leave the stream going, don't get me wrong. And just be careful there around, those roads there as you're headed out to the beach, something like that. I mean, you don't want to be out on the beach right now with lightning, obviously, whenever thunder roars go indoors here. But if you were to be headed out there for maybe you have the week now or something, you're going to your beach house, something like that, or just, rental, something along those lines, or, hotel room, anything along those lines. You just want to be mindful that there's a lot of lightning around. Definitely don't get on the beach, but you might not even want to get out of your car here in this type of situation with lightning if it's that close to you. I mean, if there's a severe warning, you want to try to make sure you're not in a spot where a tree can fall on your car, but even that can happen, and some strong gusty winds here as well that are below severe limits officially. So got to be mindful here on this Sunday. We're going to keep watching things. Let me see if there's any more questions, comments here from any of the viewers. Okay, we have a viewer reporting here, and we had the rotation on the radar signature. A viewer, this is unconfirmed. I don't know. Let me see if I can look at my other source to double check this. don't see it yet, but unconfirmed report from a viewer, David, there on YouTube, and maybe a funnel cloud in Palm Coast around 15 minutes ago, and a lot of lightning around Ormond Beach at the same time. So, just kind of, we had the rotation signature on radar there. That's really far away from the radar. We're going to do some inspection on that then. Let me make sure we didn't, you never know in this type of pattern here. It's so far from the radar. I know we've had stuff happen down there in our, fall months that we don't get a tornado warning. We have pretty significant damage. I don't necessarily know if that happened here. I kind of, would say hopefully not, but let's just look at it here. We're so far on the radar. I mean, this is really high up. Let me pull my other source in here again. So we're going to loop this here. Let's go past 30 minutes. I mean, we had our cylinder. That's what kind of concerned me. We're so far from the radar and, all that lightning there. We could have had some type of little spin. It's possible down in there. Let's do something else. We don't normally do this. Haven't had to do it much here, but our shear product, let's go 1 hour shear. I mean, I'll back it up here a little. I mean, let's go to a different mode. I'm just kind of curious because, right at the coast sometimes, you saw that cylinder pop up. You just have to be kind of mindful, vigilant sometimes. Again, unconfirmed report of a funnel cloud around Palm Coast from one of our viewers, and we had the rotational signature on radar. No warning. Let me double check this here. We're going to make sure we're looking at this the best. I know we're so far from the radar, it looks like I'm on the wrong radar, but again, let me go ahead and we're looking 6,000 feet up. We did have an advisory, but then that went away. We had a rotational signature, but it's hard to, alert for stuff that far from the radar. Let me go ahead and see here further north one more time. Glenwood O'Neill, 37. So still pretty gusty. Not quite as strong as some of the numbers we were showing you a minute ago, but gotta watch some of the stuff in Southeast Georgia as well. So just be mindful. Let me do a couple things here. We're going to show temperatures. You see a lot of spots rain cool, but not everybody. Power outages. Got a few in Nassau now. Jefferson has some. Leon still with some out that way. Let's go to the satellite. Also have everything popped on up. You can see how we had this convexing get on going. Let me see, Futurecast. It always has trouble with this type of stuff, but we'll have to be watching again tomorrow for more convexing. So, you can see some of that set up in the modeling, but let's get back to the Vedoster radar. Again, just showing you guys everything. And by the way, just for some of you guys, you might not know what the difference is between a funnel cloud and a tornado. A funnel cloud is a rotation there in the clouds, kind of the beginnings of maybe a tornado, but it's not actually touching down to officially make it a tornado. So, that's what, funnel cloud, hearing that report, seeing the rotational signature on radar being so far from the radar site. Just we'll have to check in for more reports, hopefully, make sure nothing actually did happen down there in toward Flagler County, with some type of spin or something down toward the surface. Really don't know. So, again, that's kind of the storyline for now. Just whenever thunder roars go indoors, though, we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up here at this point in time. We're going to leave the stream going, and I'll pop back in here if warranted. So stay safe out there here on this Sunday. Still holiday weekend, even though not near as much going on outdoors like yesterday. A lot of people headed home, getting back in that work mode here for tomorrow. Just got to stay safe on those roads, whether it's I-10, I-95, just I-75 to US 301. Just got to be really careful. Stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of the day the best you can. I know we're down to 77 here east of Stark, but still, it's not impossible. We could get some more storm action coming in. You see some stuff in Suwannee County. That's moving, looks like right now, more toward the Lake City area. But, we'll just have to continue to watch things here. Some spots getting a lot more rain than we did. We only got 0.07 on our rain gauge here east of Stark, 0.07 inches in terms of that number, less than a tenth. But some spots getting about an inch or so in the Bradford County area. So this is how it goes here this time of year with the stuff being hit or miss. Stay safe out there and enjoy your day and enjoy the rest of this weekend. Gonna leave the stream up here with the radar. This is a clouds weather alert. Meteorologist Casey Cloud breaking back in on this Sunday. Another severe thunderstorm warning. This one towards southeastern Georgia until 5 p.m. Talking about areas of Glynn County here. Seeing a lot of lightning, seeing this intensification process go on. And need to go ahead and make sure folks are inside and away from windows in and around Brunswick and off toward the north. So we're watching Florida earlier on. Now we're watching southeastern Georgia with this pop-up threat beginning, to get to toward that severe limit there, 58-mile-an-hour winds. Just got to be mindful. Just got to be cognizant. Those wind gusts to 58 miles an hour, a possibility for sure. Let me go ahead and see what I can kind of come up with here in terms of just the latest information here in terms of that statement from the Weather Service. So I'll go ahead and read that off. At 4:27, a severe thunderstorm was located over Country Club Estate near Dock Junction. We've been southeast at only 5 miles an hour. So Brunswick, St. Simon's Island, Dock Junction, Country Club Estate. You're into this warning till 5 p.m. Moving southeast at 5 miles an hour. So a slow mover. Torrential downpours occurring with this activity right over Country Club Estates. Bel Air, Ellis Point, Arco there, Brunswick Villa. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning. You see right there as we get on in Suburban Estates, Shell Drive there, Newman Drive, Community Road. Again, just got to be really cognizant here. Right around Brunswick and southeastern Georgia, seeing that intensification process. Seeing a lot of lightning really get together here with this over just the last few moments as this moves really slowly off toward the southeast. We quickly had an advisory get issued and a warning get issued. We've had the heat. That's why that orange is on the screen. That's a heat advisory that's been in play. But this is going to cool things off there, I know. And as we're monitoring things, I know sometimes these are kind of hard to track. And we'll kind of track some of the strongest of this at about 5 miles an hour. So let me go ahead and put some of the smaller areas on here. I'll go ahead and get in towards some of those small communities and be able to see here what we're talking about in terms of some of the areas that are in the past. So McIntyre Court, Riverside, over toward Brunswick, downtown. We have St. Clair Estates, Gordon Oaks Homes. We have St. Simon Mills. You kind of get the idea there. I just got to be really careful as we're watching things in towards southeastern Georgia. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Glynn County until 5 p.m. So again, we just have to be taking precautions. And our first couple warnings didn't last until the expiration. Well, this one, let's look at the wind mode. This one might. I mean, you can kind of see here. Let me back it up 15 minutes. This is further from the radar as well, so sometimes it's a little harder to know if things, when they strike than when they weaken, but could have the burst of wind energy right over Brunswick Villa. Would be a downburst is what I'm talking about here. Brunswick Villa, Arco, Cypress Mills, Magnolia Park here. So again, just trying to be cognizant, as we're trying to be mindful here of the overall scenario. So again, just trying to update you guys here on things the best I can with the overall meteorology. So again, severe thunderstorm warning here in southeastern Georgia until 5 p.m. So again, just trying to be updating you guys the best we can with this severe weather scenario. Again, the reason to have Florida on the stream descriptions, that's how we started off. But now we're into South Georgia here. We were hoping maybe, I'm too optimistic sometimes with these storms. I mean, I was a little pessimistic for yesterday and we got lucky. A lot of us did, not everybody, but today a little optimistic, hoping for the best. Maybe we wouldn't get a bunch of warnings, and now we're up to a third one, including, one in toward Georgia. We had our first two in toward Florida here. We have this potential, this severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Glynn County there until 5 p.m. So got to take precautions here, folks. Maybe that burst of wind energy here right over Arco, right over Gordon Heights, maybe Ross Road, Whitlock Street, Wiley Avenue, Kate Street there, as well as Townsend Street. You have Oriole Street there, Starling Street. So again, this got to be really mindful here with the overall meteorology. Again, maybe that burst of wind energy. Again, just have to be really careful here as we're looking at things. You see Fifth Street here, some heavy rain, maybe a little bit of hail mixed in as we put the hail information on here in towards southeastern Georgia. Again, severe thunderstorm warning now until 5 p.m. Remember, we started off with Florida, but now we're talking about Georgia here on this stream and just some of those Georgia counties. Again, I just gotta keep you guys up to date here the best we can with the overall meteorology. It's all about informing and protecting you, your friends, and your family here. Again, we started off with Florida. Now we're talking about Georgia here with this third cut-in that we've had to do on this stream. We had, again, St. John's and Duval. Then it was Duval and Nassau. Now further north toward Glynn County in southeastern Georgia. A severe thunderstorm warning in play there. As we keep you guys up to date, this is going to some be hail potential. No tornadic debris anticipated here as we look. But, seeing maybe a little bit of that right in here. As we're looking around Dock Junction, give or take. And some of this we're in the water, so keep that in mind. Water bodies, just got to remember, whenever thunder roars, go indoors. You don't want a tragedy to happen. And in fact, let me remind you of our lightning safety. You don't need a warning to have dangerous lightning. When thunder roars, you need to go indoors. Lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm. You need to be very mindful here of this. You got to be cognizant here of the overall reality of this danger. Granted, most of us will be all right. But it only takes one strike to be very tragic. Just awful, awful situation in Southwest Florida on Friday. A person losing their life there to a lightning strike. And then yesterday, another person was struck from media reports there and just the storm report. They're expected to be all right there toward Volusia County, the south of the area. That's the county where we have Daytona, of course. And then just got to be very mindful. We don't want tragedy to happen, these tragedies to happen here. This holiday weekend, we've already had a rip current tragedy. We've already had a lightning tragedy. That's all I, know about. But there may be more that I'm not aware of here because I've been focused more on our counties, just seeing those pop up in the OSRs and the adjacent and further out, even zones here. We've already had it be a tragic holiday weekend for at least a couple families here. So, again, you just got to be very mindful of lightning and rip currents there as we're looking at things, as we're updating you. Again, let me go ahead and you can see out toward Live Oak here, out toward Live Oak and Suwannee County. We have some lightning, some heavy rain, but no advisories. We have some lightning northwestern Alachua, but this is the only, real area of concern. We have a severe warning up here. Severe thunderstorm warning as we're looking towards Cypress Mills and Riverside and McIntyre Court, Newcastle Street. You can see you have Starland Street in here, the Brunswick Villa, Demir Hammock there. So again, you have Cypress Mills. Again, we need to be very cognizant, very, just watchful here of the overall conditions here. Let's go ahead and go to the outage map right now. Power outages. We have a few in Nassau, Suwannee, Jefferson, and Leon. We had a warning toward Nassau. We had an advisory and we had a report of some pretty big hail just under severe in Leon with, again, some power outages being noted up that way. So, again, just trying to keep you up to date here on things the best we can. You see around Brunswick Villa, 5th Street, Atkinson Street, Johnston Street. Got this warning. Looking for any rotation, not necessarily seeing that, but we have a lot of storm energy here, a lot of surface-based cape here as we keep you guys up to date. Let me go ahead and look here. Let me go ahead and look here at the mapping. I know we got a report, by the way, of a gust of 43 at the Country Club Estates there right before 4 o'clock. But we have almost 4,000 joules per kilogram of surface-based cape. Going to go over and look at some of the questions, comments. Don't see anything, here in terms of anything right away new. But with Thomas watching here recently, and just appreciate everybody tuning on in here and trusting me on this Sunday, It's a day you want to relax, but unfortunately weather turning eventful once again. Yesterday we only had one warning. We just let it, go with the radar stream. I was watching that there remotely and moving our radar around, so you could see what was going on. But it's now our third warning here. Been on for all three of them in this stream. Trying to keep you guys up to date here. Trying to update you on this holiday weekend. It's a lot of wind here. There could be a burst of wind energy around McIntyre Court, Tillman Avenue. We have Cleburne Street. We have Watkins Avenue, Maple Road, Player Street. It's got to be really, alert here to this danger because we have some opposing winds. This could be a burst of wind energy. You add those together, that's 60 miles an hour. Could be a burst of wind energy there on that, little notch there or further north. Just going between all of our different modes. I mean, it may almost be a little weak rotation. We're so far from the radar. I mean, as we're looking up there, maybe hard to say. There could be a little weak rotation right at the coast is where, in theory, you can get a little spin to come together. Not saying that it's happening here, but there's a lot of lightning, though. Let's back this up. I mean, you see how things have come together here just recently. It gets worse and worse with that lightning count. Let's go 30 minutes so we can see the progression a little bit better. I mean, look at this up top right. Look how it gets higher and higher and higher here. This is an electric storm in Glynn County. I mean, I'm going to look back here. I don't recall the other storms earlier, and I'll go back. Let's go 2 hours here. I don't recall them being, because this is covering all of the lightning areas. That first one, and then even this warning here that'll come. Yeah, I mean, the storm that we have now has the worst lightning by far. This is really nasty. Somebody could get struck. You could have a house fire. You could have, electronics damaged here. This is a lot of lightning there around Glendale, around Oak Bluff, around Bel Air, Waverly Pines Park. This is a lot of lightning here in 15 minutes. I mean, we have 270 strikes plus, 3 more if you want to, really be, with the updated number exact. That's 273 strikes last 15 minutes. All these flashing lightning strikes, ones that have happened in the last 60 seconds. Some of these cloud to cloud, some of these cloud to ground here. So we're really seeing the conditions adverse here in southeastern Georgia. This is a, nasty, nasty storm. Let me make sure I put it out because I know we started off with Florida. I need to get my other source here to make sure people know that this is dangerous because, I'm going to just add this on the Twitter. I know if you're watching on Facebook, on like YouTube, the algorithm would be hard to, kind of change things here at this point. But let me just on Twitter put this out again so people are aware of what's going on. I'm going to send out our coverage for everybody. Bear with me. I don't normally like to do this, but this is really dangerous there with all this lightning in southeast Georgia right now. Let me just make sure everybody's aware. I'm going to send out a tweet here. We're going to go ahead and get over to the stream. Just a one-man band, but I got to get this sent out here. Once again, so coverage continues. For a severe storm, a severe orange storm in southeastern Georgia. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I hate typing this while we're talking, but this is how it has to be. So coverage continues for a severe orange storm in southeastern Georgia. Around 300 lightning strikes. And I'll zoom out to see if I'm missing anything. Not really. So about 300, around 300 lightning strikes have occurred. As we're looking there, parts of Glynn County. In the Glynn County area in the past 15 minutes. So I'll send this out here on Twitter and the X platform. So coverage continues for a severe orange storm in southeastern Georgia. Around 300 lightning strikes have occurred in the Glynn County area in the past 15 minutes. That is just a ton of lightning here. You hate seeing that. This is, really prolific here with this lightning. Just want to make sure people are aware. I mean, look at that. It's getting higher and higher here. Again, this is really noteworthy. It is summertime. We just don't want to see all this electrical energy because this can cause damage. So Again, just continuing to watch this. So I just sent that out on the Twitter/X platform, our coverage. So again, coverage continuing for a severe warm storm in southeastern Georgia. Around 300 lightning strikes have occurred in the Glynn County area in the past 15 minutes. That is not what you want to see. This is still strengthening. We're up to 325 now. Just again, please take this seriously here around Glynn County. That's we don't get warnings for lightning officially, but this is something that's really hazardous. You have this many chances of danger in terms of somebody being struck, a home being struck. Just got to be really careful. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm, but this number just keeps growing here. That's 15 minutes. It's doubled here. More than doubled in the past 15 minutes. We had to warn in 15 minutes ago. They issued it at 4:27. We don't normally see this here. We may get another warning here past 5 o'clock. This is, really dangerous in terms of that lightning here in towards southeastern Georgia again. To see this much, of this getting stronger and stronger, it already reached severe limits with half this many lightning strikes. You don't see this around here that much in summertime. Because normally we'll get it and it'll kind of die off. It's just getting stronger and stronger right here at the coast here. Again, take this seriously. In the word Glynn County, let's have a flood advisory now as we look. Let me see if I can click on that. Let me see what I can do here. I need to turn this heat advisory off because... So I know it's going to turn everything off for a second, but just bear with me. I don't like to do this while we're on the air, but let me just get the heat advisory off of here. I got everything off temporarily, but I just got to turn our settings here. We're going to change some things around. Okay, do we have a flash flood warning? Okay, we do have a flash flood warning now. Okay. We have a flash flood warning now as well. So this is really escalating in towards southeastern Georgia. Okay, till 7:45 now. Let me see what they're saying in the Weather Service. Okay, so we're talking about at 4:47 Doppler radar indicated thunderstorm producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1 and 2 inches have fallen, and the expected rainfall rate is 2 to 4 inches in an hour. So they're saying it could even be up to 3 to 5 inches in the bottom of this in 1 hour. So this is right around Dog Tungsten Country Club estates. You're going to have rapid water rise possible in some of these areas because we're just getting so much rain so quick. It keeps getting stronger and stronger. Let's go to the rainfall rate product here now. As we're looking at this overall situation, again, this storm is really escalated here. As we're keeping you guys informed, let's do 6 hour. Really, I probably could do like 2 hour, but that's 2.5 inches, 6 hour. But let's go we'll go 3 hour. You see the same story, and then we're going to go to rainfall rate. This is just sitting over these areas. If it sat over them for 1 hour, the exact rate it is now, that's 7 inches. So some areas could get 5 inches in an hour. Probably not 7, but, this is the high end of things, With all this precip here, some areas could get 5 inches in an hour, an isolated spot or two, which sounds just incredible. But the way this has really evolved here, this is a really concerning storm setup here right now around the Brunswick area. We don't generally see pulse action hanging around like this here. Again, take this seriously in towards southeastern Georgia. You're hearing all those rumbles of thunder. That lightning counter just gets worse and worse here. We're now up, because it'll get rid of the ones from before the last 15 minutes. And we are now up to 300. And, okay, I think it just finally dropped a little. So that might be a very, small sign of good news there. But it's not much of one because we're still so high. But 357 now, last 15 minutes. So maybe it's peaked a little bit here as we're watching things of the overall weather situation. But again, we now have a flash flood warning in addition to the severe thunderstorm warning here because of all this very heavy rain. It's just been sitting over these areas. Let's go back an hour. Even an hour, and let's just let it loop through here. Excuse me. We started seeing some of the heavy downpour there about an hour ago, but it just has become more and more left to right here, west to east, with this training here of convection and strengthening here to get enough of that burst of wind energy and the flash flooding threat now here in towards southeastern Georgia. So again, this is a really nasty, nasty storm situation. Right in downtown, it's not quite as bad, but just north here around Glendale Gardens, Clover Heights, Glynn Heights. You are getting one heck of a storm here this afternoon. This might be your most memorable storm you're going to have all summer here, to be completely honest, as we're looking towards some of these communities. Again, this is really nasty. Canal Road, Northwood Estates. Again, we have a flash flood warning. We have a severe thunderstorm warning. The lightning counter, for an area like this, is about as high as I've seen it since I've been using this system over the last month or so. 361 in the last 15 minutes just for this area here. That count has just been, just gotten remarkably high. Again, this is a serious situation towards southeastern Georgia right now. We don't normally say that about afternoon storms. The other two are not something that I would deem like that. But now we have the rapid water rise. We have your severe thunderstorm warning here. Again, we don't get very many flash flood warnings outside of like Duval there in the metro with all the, pavement this time of year. We don't get many flash flood warnings in summertime. But we have one here in toward Glynn County right now. Again, this is really setting up to be a significant event here for some localized spots north of Brunswick here. Again, North End, Windward Acres, High Hill Lake, Oak Bluff, Ellis Point, Arco, Parade Rest, Glendale Gardens, Glen Camp here. Just going between some different modes, looking for hail. Maybe some still in there. That might not be, really something that's too noteworthy right now. It's not the biggest threat. The biggest threat, there's been lightning here now. I would say flooding, second biggest, winds, third biggest here. The yellow box is for wind. We have the lightning just everywhere, though. And let's check power outage number. They should start showing up there for Glenn. It may take a little longer. Okay, well, there you go. We got 1% out now. I'm going to go to a different mode for this because this is one heck of a storm there toward Glynn County in southeastern Georgia. Okay, let's go this way. 500, but that's going to get higher. I can't imagine, that it would. And Leon to 300 right now as we look at this way of looking at the power outages. Again, just trying to keep you guys up to date. We have a severe thunderstorm warning. We have a flash flood warning here, a rapid water rise possible. It's not just a flood warning, flood advisory. We had a flood advisory here as well. And, I got the heat advisory to go away in terms of the colors, but it's not going to let me click on the flood advisory, I guess, as we're looking here right now. Let me go ahead and I'll read it off first to see what they had to say. Yeah, 4:34, they said the flood advisory, and things just, got worse and worse so quickly. They were thinking maybe up to 4 inches max with the flood advisory. They said at 4:34. And things by 4:47, became apparent they were not going to relent. So they had to say, maybe up to, 5 inches in an hour here toward Glynn County. 5 inches of rain in 1 hour. That is, I must have to, question myself saying it like that, but that's what they have at the bottom here. And, our product said 7 inches if it was to sit over the same areas at a certain rate. It's not going to do that exactly, but 5 inches in an hour, very problematic as we're looking towards southeastern Georgia right now. Okay, so turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Let's go to our flash flood product. We have a special product here. Flood risk. I'm surprised it's not higher than that, to be completely honest. I'm just trying to loop to see, it's saying elevated here right now. And that's probably our only one in our area like that. Let me turn the lightning off. Some stuff south, but yeah, we have that flash flooding risk elevated here as we look at that product. Now, this may be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try to, let's get our Jacksonville radar on, do our nowcast, see if it moves this. It tries to move it out, but this is a tricky product sometimes, to try to, it's not going to forecast this stuff that good. A squall line it would do a lot better with, but let's get back to the current view from the NextRad site. Again, let's get the lightning back on here, the lightning counter. Again, just continuing to give you the latest here. This is a nasty storm. Okay, they're going to drop the severe thunderstorm warning at 5 o'clock. Because maybe we're not getting the winds at 60 miles an hour, but this is still one nasty storm. The flood threat's not relenting. We're going to have to stick with this a little longer past 5. That lightning's not relenting either. The winds aren't necessarily severe, but this is just so much lightning in here. See, our lightning counter is ticked down just very slightly at the end, but I mean, it just was going up and up there. So much lightning in toward this area, that electrical energy. You know, we don't talk about it as much anymore, but it's one of those type of lightning storms, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to unplug some of those, electrical appliances and things like that here that are most vulnerable, because this is that type of, electric storm that can be really dangerous, really volatile here meteorologically. And this warning went all the way to the end pretty much, so, our first 2 didn't, the severe thunderstorm, but now that flash flooding threat, and then the lightning threat's continuing, but the flash flooding threat's, going to stay in play here a little longer, all the way to 7:45. We'll have to see if they go considerable on this eventually, if this keeps, the end of this rate here. I mean, we lost some of the purples, the pinks, but we still got, pretty nasty weather here overall. Waverly Pines Park. And this reminds me of a storm. Not, we didn't necessarily have the warnings for it like this, but it reminds me a little bit of a storm we had here a few years ago in Bradford County at Bradford Middle School when it flooded. Just kind of sitting right over the same area here. It was in August, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. Because you don't generally get a chance for 5 inches this quickly, but we might be getting there in some of these areas. Let's go to hydro. 3 hour. Again, it's really like 1 hour, 3 inches, but it's not even, it hadn't even been falling for a full hour yet. But with these type of rates, and it's not moving. I mean, it was moving 5 miles an hour at the most, is what the Weather Service is saying with a severe thunderstorm. That's why we're so concerned. I mean, I'll zoom in and you'll just see how it doesn't really change much in some of these spots here. Some of the different neighborhoods. I mean, let's go. Let me change this loop around. We're gonna go 45 minutes back, and we'll go 5-minute increments. I'll scrub to the front. And you just see how it's been sitting over them since, 35 minutes ago for sure. Maybe even more in some of these spots here. There's these very heavy rates of rain coming on down here. This prolific type of, lightning producer, but also prolific rain production here as well. So let's zoom back out. Looping things around here. We're just continuing to give you the latest. Of course, we cover you guys in toward Glynn County. Let's remind you guys of those 38 counties that we cover. Let me put that up on the screen. We're going to update some things here. Just give me just a moment. I'm going to work on something that's kind of creative here behind the scenes. Just bear with me here. It's just a one-man band here, but it's all about trying to give you guys the latest. You're going to see here in just a second how the storm height has kind of dropped down some. Well, we got 3D mode up. I just got that set. And you can see how we're watching the storm height here. It starts to fall off some, but it's dropping a lot of rain here in that area, even though we're not getting, as high here. You can kind of see some of these drop down some, but we're, that's why we're not maybe seeing that wind potential is high, but we're still getting some of that overall, rain potential. That lightning is not quite as high vertically anymore in terms of the overall weather picture. But again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here with this severe weather situation. This is a unique view. I haven't showed it very much on here at 3D mode, but you can see how it was a little bit higher earlier in the loop, and we've seen that drop. That's why our wind potential has dropped. We're not seeing, the storms getting as high anymore, but we're still seeing a lot of rain being dropped, and that lightning potential is definitely there. So, again, a unique, way. It's like an X-ray here, something like that here of some storm activity, a different way to look at things. So, again, we're just trying to keep you guys up to date toward areas like Glynn County there. As we inform you guys with the very latest there, a part of our 38 counties, that commitment to you, the viewers obviously at home, as we try to keep you guys informed on everything that's going on. So, again, just appreciate you guys tuning on in here. Appreciate you guys trusting me. I know that's where the action's been here the last little bit. We were talking about other areas earlier on, but talking about Glynn County here right now. Heat advisory, but it's going to go away soon. I took it off of the screen so it wasn't making things too messy. But again, you can see the flash flood warning here in this area. Clover Heights, High Hill Lake, Bel Air, Benedict, Ellis Point, Arco, Blythe Island, Glen Camp there. Beverly Shores right on the edge of this. This is just some significant rain. Significant rain there in southeastern Georgia. Let's go ahead and loop this to past hour. I mean, you just see how it's just sitting over these areas here, just training along, it's technically supposed to be moving southeast, but, I would draw something. I want to draw something, but you can't hardly even, it's not moving enough to really draw anything. It's just training here over these same areas here. It's, a really nasty scenario. Okay, so let me turn our other stuff off with the pen. Let's go to the other mode here. We're going to go to the county power is total. Wow, this is what I was telling you guys about the lightning and the storm. 2,500 now in the dark there in Glynn County. Again, this is a very nasty storm we've been following here over the last little bit in southeast Georgia. We had to change that focus here from northern Florida into southeastern Georgia. So again, a nasty situation here with the overall weather impact for sure. Again, really seeing that, brunt of the meteorological scenario being felt there for these poor folks there in north, southeast Georgia. Not everybody like in Brunswick, maybe it wasn't that bad, but some of these areas getting several inches of rain and just, rumble of thunder after rumble of thunder. And some of those, I'm sure, were striking things here with some cloud ground strikes. So it's not a good situation there. Rough afternoon here in towards southeastern Georgia. Let's see if this map has updated the number yet. Yeah, 5% now in the dark in Glynn County. Again, very significant up there in towards southeastern Georgia again. This has got to be, we've been doing cloud weather since 2019, and it's hard to remember every summer thunderstorm since then, but at least with the, since we've had to bear an upgrade here a little over a month, this has got to be one of the stronger afternoon storms we've covered here. Just one toward Glynn County here over the last half an hour. So this is, it's been really rough in toward that area. They're really rough in toward the Glynn County zone. July, we get a lot of lightning, but this has really been over the top here. We don't have to see a thunderstorm warning anymore, but you see how the lightning counter had gone up and up for a while. We had that rapid water rise and still do have that rapid water rise potential here. Let me just see if we've had any updates on that flash flood warning here. Okay, so I know we're switching stuff around. I apologize for going to the other screen there for a second, but again, I wanted to double check something from the Weather Service. So again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things. Let me just see if they've upgraded to considerable. They have not actually, which they sent out an update statement just now, but they did not go up to considerable. Okay, so I'm a little surprised because normally they wouldn't send out an update statement on a flash flood, unless they were really, concerned and maybe have to do something like that. But At 5:03, Doppler, an automated rain gauge has indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1.5 and 3.5 inches of rain have fallen. The expected rainfall rate is 2 to 3 inches in 1 hour. Additional amounts up to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. So, okay, they dropped the hourly rate to 2 to 3 inches at least in 1 hour. Maybe not, up to 5 inches. So let's look back here at some stuff. Let's look back at some stuff here. This is really in like hour totals, and we're at 3.6. Let me click on some of these brighter spots here, or try to. Maybe about the brightest that it gets, but you kind of get the idea. It's still 3.5 inches in 1 hour. Really, I know it says 3, but really 1 hour. Let's go. This is a different way to look at it now. It says 5. I know this color table, these don't match, but this does show 5 inches here in 1 hour. And some of these spots here around Glynn Camp, and the Clover Heights area. So that's a different way to visualize it there for sure. As we're keeping you guys informed. I know you can see the differentials pretty quick here. I mean, look at Brunswick. I had this with a flash flood situation about a month ago. I mean, look, just a trace down there, 5 inches, give or take, around Glynn Camp and Oak Bluff there as we're looking at the overall situation. Again, this is not what you want to deal with here in toward these spots. That's why we have the flash flood warning. That rapid water rise potential is there. Again, the actual right now is not 5 inches an hour, maybe, because it's not, quite as heavy. I mean, right with the actual precip could be, but it's not, actually, you're not going to get an additional 5 inches in the next hour is what they're saying. Maybe an additional 3 inches in the next hour, but it's not quite as heavy and heavy enough to get 5 inches now in this, hour following from 5:08 to 6:08 is what they're saying. So that's kind of the storyline there. Let me see if there's any more questions, comments from any of the viewers at home. Don't see any, but appreciate you guys tuning on and interest in me. It's not fun to have to deal with something like this, obviously, as we're looking towards some of our zones. Again, still that flash flood warning up there. Just continuing to watch things. I know we have the heat advisory, but it's not as hot. I mean, you'll see it. It's really, really, really cooled off there toward Brunswick, down to 71 there in Glynn County. Again, trying to keep you guys up to date here. 2,500 in the dark, I know. Look at the other tab here. No formal risk of severe weather locally. There is one further north, but not around here. That's just how it is, though. I'm not, it's just, you guys, if you've been here long enough, I mean, I've been here around Bradford County, North Central Florida since 2000. When I was 5 years old coming here, you just know that we can get severe weather without a formal risk this time of year. I mean, there's just no way, because you'd have to put marginal risk out every day, really, in summertime if you want to do it like that. I mean, they're not going to do that. You just have to be weather aware every day and, expect the, conditions occasionally to be what, I mean, I don't mean to hype this up, but just on a hyper-local level, the old saying would be that the bottom fell out. I mean, that's how it could be here this time of year. Sometimes you have to expect that potential here in summer, and you don't necessarily have much warning for it. That's just the nature of things. I mean, honestly, over the years, you don't generally get, I mean, I'm doing quite a bit of it, and there's more, now. But, over the years, you didn't get much coverage for this type of stuff here. You just kind of had to go with the flow here and hope for the best, pretty much. And most days it was all right. But occasionally, the bottom would fall out here and in the summer here toward our area as we're looking at the latest information. So, again, you can see High Hill Lake, Southern Junction, Clover Heights, Glendale Gardens, Ellis Point, Parade Rest. It's not as heavy as it was. That's still heavy, though, in a flash flood warning. That's still going to add insult to injury if you're starting to get water to come into a home or something like that in a few of these neighborhoods, potentially. It's not going to, it's going to be continuing to go up with this type of rate. It's not going to recede yet, so don't want to quite wrap coverage yet here. We don't stay on for the whole time for flash flood warnings. I mean, the warning goes on to 7:45, but, we're not going to do that with it. It does look like it's kind of dropping off some, but, we're just continuing to watch this. I'm going to catch my breath for 60 seconds, but I'll be right back. I'm just going to get some new updates here into the Weather Center. So we're going to be back in 60 seconds with more on this flash flood warning. Keep it tuned right here, and I'll keep you up to date. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin-up tornado, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out a quick spin-up tornado, so things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust clouds weather. Back here in the Weather Center now, meteorologist Casey Cloud. Glynn County flash flood warning continues. That potential for some flooding danger continues. New Jessup Highway there. Kate Road, it looks like right there in toward Glynn County. Again, some of our estimates are showing maybe 5 inches of rain in the last hour here and towards some of these different zones now. I mean, the rates now maybe 3 inches, coming up, but I don't think anybody's going to really get 8 inches, but, maybe 7 inches not out of the question in a spot. You never know. Let's go ahead and this is not going to show it like that as much, but let's go to our 1 hour. This is why I'm going with the numbers I am, because it's, showing, and I know the color table, it throws it off some, but you can see showing 5 inches. The Weather Service was warning for 5-inch rates at the high end earlier, so that's why you got to be so cognizant, obviously. Not much else in some of these other zones. Let me go back here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Atmosphere may be worked over in a lot of our area, but not so much here in this spot, initially now it is getting worked over, of course, but, still watching the trends. Again, trying to keep you up to date. High Hill Lake, Northwood Estates, Southern Junction, Pinehurst, Clover Heights, Glendale Gardens, Glencoe, Old Jessup Road, Glenwood Estates. I mean, these areas are all getting into this. It's not as heavy as it was at the lightning count. Oh, wow, that, is really taking a dive here as I go to the broad picture from, you see it wasn't high at one point, but then it got almost to 400. We're now down about half of that. So at least we're seeing, a 30 to 3D mode, how things were dropping. And I'm sure they're dropping even more on that now with the storm height vertically. So, again, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date on everything. You can see High Hill Lake, New Jessup Highway, Canal Road. Again, definitely some problems in toward these spots, no doubt. Again, continuing to keep you up to date. Continuing to keep you informed here. Again, just trying to update you guys on the very latest. Again, Brunswick has really missed out on the worst of this. I mean, right, if you're in Brunswick, you're wondering what, you might have heard the rumble to thunder in the distance, so maybe you are still concerned, but in general, you're thinking, well, why was, this talked about so much here on this stream? It's because of everything that's happened just to the north. some of these different communities getting several inches of rain in an hour here. High Hill Lake, Clover Heights, Oak Bluff. Again, just some really, problematic impacts into where those different spots. So let me go ahead and throw a coverage map back up. Again, just trying to keep you informed here. Trying to keep you up to date for Glynn County there. As we're watching out for you, one of our 38 counties. Again, this is a radar engaged indicated flash flood warning. Flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage and low-lying areas are possible. Again, let me go ahead and switch back on over here to the Doppler again, as we keep you up to date. A lot less lightning now, which is great news. We're still seeing some pretty heavy rain over areas that are potentially, at least some roads I'm sure are flooded in this area, no doubt. As we're looking. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so Doc Junction there, personal weather station, reported 4.6 inches of rain in 1 hour. That verifies what I've been talking about. I thought we were getting up to 5 inches in an hour. It's weird to talk about that. It's a pretty new system I'm using here, but the Weather Service is talking about it. Just trying to be a little bit careful with just, first there especially, and just, kind of thinking that's what we're going to have verified. Now we have verification that we've had almost 5 inches in just 1 hour there on a rain gauge. This does not happen around here very much, almost 5 inches of rain here in 1 hour toward the Dock Junction area there in Glynn County. Very, very significant rainfall in terms of the precip. There's a little bit less to the north there, a couple inches in an hour span. But again, that one just stands out like a sore thumb there. Almost 5 inches in an hour. You can see some of these gustier winds, 43, 53. That wasn't even that long ago there. That heat advisory. I know it's going to keep popping up on me, but, it's not, a problem anymore where they've had heavy rain, obviously. So, again, trying to keep you up to date here. Trying to keep you up to date. Again, just trying to update you. I'm looking at some things here behind the scenes. Some light in northwestern parts of Alachua. Let's see how warm we are. We're back into the 80s here. It's just dark now. Back up to 81. Not necessarily going to get severe out of this, accident that's forming and evolving, but still could get some gusty winds, heavy rain. But in towards southeastern Georgia, we got all that flooding again, that confirmation. That confirmation of almost 5 inches of rain in 1 hour from a personal weather station. That's what we were seeing on radar. That's what the Weather Service had in their description there. And here you go, almost 5 inches of rain in 1 hour there in towards southeastern Georgia. Just wow. Not in a good way, because I'm sure, let me check some information here, because see if there's any reports maybe from the sheriff's office up there. See if information I can, alert you to here in terms of some of the different details. See if we have any road closure reports here. I know it's north of Brunswick proper, really, but I don't see anything right off here, but I'm sure there are some impacts. Let's go ahead and look at power outage numbers, see if they've gone up some more. A little higher, over 5% now is the number. Oh, it was at 5, now it's at 5.5%. It still says 2,500 in the dark, but again, really nasty storm. Not in the wind anymore, though. It's been about that rain. That's slacking off in the flash flood warning a pretty decent amount now. Still some heavy downpours in there, don't get me wrong, but It's not the kind of rates that we were seeing earlier on. Let me see what our mode's showing here. I mean, it's still showing some pretty high ones. I'm going to click on this. That's more like what you'd be seeing in there. A couple winds an hour, and you see how it updated. Kind of what I was thinking. But again, I think that's the story for now. We're going to go ahead and wrap coverage, but I'll leave the stream going. I'll just go ahead and leave it up here. Let's on this area. We'll leave it up on this area. We still have the flash flood warning. And, you know, it's going to loop that around some. Let me see if I can. Well, it's just been so quick how this has evolved. And let me check something else because we have just got an update on that. Okay, so again, we're watching things for Glynn County. You know, it's in our northeastern, southeastern Georgia zones. I think we just got an update on something. So let me check. Okay, we did just get an update from the Weather Service. I've been sending out a lot of updates on this because, you know, it is impactful. They didn't actually go to considerable on this, but at 5:17 p.m., the operator and automated rain gauges, and we have been in a drought too, which could have helped with some drainage some. Not totally, because sometimes if it's too quick, you know, it's not going to go down, but some areas, you know, we've had enough rain. This, you know, it could be, you know, something where, I know in some of these areas where we have even more population density, it would have been a real problem, like right in downtown Jacksonville. But, you know, I'm sure we've had problems in these areas with this kind of rain. Anybody's going to have some type of problems with 5 inches in an hour, pretty much, but 4.6 officially in an hour, as we've alluded to. But at 5:17 p.m., the operator and automated rain gauges indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area between 2 and 5 inches have fallen. Additional amounts of up to an inch now possible. So they've lowered the additional totals because you can see how it's dropping the rain rates, the heavy downpours, but flash flooding may be ongoing. You know, may still begin here soon if it hadn't already. Dock, Junction, Country Club Estates area. Just turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths do occur in vehicles. So keep that in mind as we're looking there toward that zone. So we said we're going to leave the radar up there. Let me just make sure I have it better tilted here so we get the best look at things. We'll zoom back on in, and we're going to kind of loop this around here. We're going to loop this around. Again, we had the flash flood warning. They've trended back some, but, you know, still tracking things here. All the different alerts. I'll just leave that on up for the time being. Thanks for tuning in and trusting me for now. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud in the Weather Center. Again, with a nasty situation in Southeast Georgia. I'll be back here as if conditions warrant again. I hope they don't, but if they do somewhere in the area, I'll be popping back on in. But we'll leave this for at least a little bit. If they drop this warning, we don't see much more on radar, we may cut the stream here. But, you know, I'm going to leave it right now with this flash flood warning in play for parts of Glynn County because there'll still be some residual effects. Still some heavy downpours in a few spots. So just be careful there in Southeast Georgia. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll, you know, adjust this some maybe as soon as I get off of here, and, you know, we'll be able to see this to you even a little bit better here behind the scenes as I get down a little bit closer to some of these neighborhoods. Thanks for tuning in.